All right, there seems to be an alarming trend of young Americans showing sympathy towards accused terrorists and murderers. We've seen students supporting Hamas, participating in anti-Israel protests. We've seen support for suspected United Healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione. He's received more than $900,000 in donations and is getting support from people like Taylor Lorenz.
There's a huge disconnect between the narratives and angles that sort of mainstream media pushes and what the American public feels. And you see that in moments like this. And I can tell you, I saw the biggest audience growth that I've ever seen. Here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
I want to laugh this off because who is Taylor Lorenz, a Washington Post, former New York Times columnist, who describes a murderer, an alleged murderer, as a moral man and a revolutionary. But I wonder sometimes, just because you laugh this off because it's reminiscent of the conversation of a Brooklyn brunch crew, doesn't mean it doesn't have a real effect on society. So what's happening here? Let's talk to Dr. Drew Pinsky, who is still with us. Dr. Drew, again, I want to blow this off because half the audience, forgive me, 90% of the audience doesn't know who Taylor Lorenz is. But she was at one point a very influential person employed by quote-unquote mainstream media. And then you hear this thought process. And we see these types of actions, by the way, or we at least see violent actions, reverberating throughout society.
I completely agree with you. Now let's be clear-eyed about who she is now. She has shown us who she is. She is somebody who lives in a world of fantasy where so-called narratives determine reality. And the reality is this man behaved immorally, regardless of whatever frustrations he may have had. And by the way, if you really read his stuff, he was not particularly upset about healthcare. He really didn't have any major gripes with it. And everyone has hung their hat on, I have frustrations with healthcare too. Yeah, that does not justify does not justify murder. The idea that this kid is a revolutionary in the eyes of anybody tells me that we have disconnected from reality. We've all aware, I think, that common sense has gone somewhere into outer space. It's slowly coming back. But it's also clear to me that so many of these young people that have grown up in the world of iPhones and social media that they are not connected to human reality. I'm going to tell you, not only is this young man behaving in reprehensible, disgusting, immoral way, the reality is you're going to find that he has a serious mental illness. That's what we're going to find here. Now, it's not sufficient to be a defense because obviously he knew what he was doing. He planned. He knew it was wrong. He hid out. So it's almost impossible to do an insanity plea in a situation like this. But that doesn't mitigate the fact that this man is seriously disturbed. I'm going to say bipolar hypomania, something in that zone, maybe even something more severe in terms of his thought disturbance. And we need to talk realistically about human behavior and not have this fantasy idea about so-called narratives.
But, Dr. Drew, there's a sickness beyond potentially that of Luigi Mangione. It's society-wide. We saw last week this study where 55% on the left is content and perhaps would celebrate the death of Donald Trump. Now, I'm going to ask for a little bit of runway from the audience to set this question up. I know, Dr. Drew, he spent an hour and more with me on the Will Cain digital show. So I know some of your thoughts, Dr. Drew, beyond medicine. And here's why I want to ask you this. You've talked with me about the French Revolution. I want to know from you why you think there are Taylor Lorenzes in our society, not Luigi Mangiones, but why we have people that celebrate murderers. And so here's the leeway that I asked for. You offer us disconnectedness. I'll offer you quick three other options. Trump derangement syndrome has been going on for a decade, and it has infected a great amount of our population. That's one. Two, they have just drank from the fire hose of mainstream media insanity as well for the better part of the past decade, warping minds. But three is right here in your wheelhouse. We do have income inequality. We do have a society that's been divided, and we do have a large segment of this population that feels like not that they can't get rich, but that there is a systemic cap on their ability to reach the rich. And all I will say is, from the French and on through society, when you have a percentage of your population that feels stagnated, it's disaffected, and it does turn to civil discord and potentially violence.
Wow, you really packed a lot into that, and I'm going to try to pick one of the three, and it's kind of all three. And the Trump derangement and the narratives by the media and what is being taught in colleges is leads to a cognitive structure upon which they build their delusions. But to your point about the social circumstance, grievance and envy, and I'm going back to childhood trauma, and its results in the narcissism, the envy that then gets acted out violently. Grievance in almost all social situations that go bad, you find grievance underlying it that justifies behavior that is not justifiable. Yes. And it is, look, when you really, it's interesting, when you look at 1789, yes, there was a lot of stuff going on. Yes, there was a lot of reasons for the people to act out the way they did, but the way it went down, it's not good. And we've had the guillotines out with cancellation culture here. Humans scapegoat. And when they have a lot of narcissistic burden, when they have a lot of childhood trauma, they focus their aggression outwardly and they form mobs, they become mass formations, and they scapegoat outwardly. That's what we're doing right now, and it is extremely unhealthy, and it needs to be contained.
You and I have had that conversation about the rise of narcissism, scapegoating, grievance, luckily the virtual guillotines. It wasn't virtual in 1789. People don't know that about Dr. Drew. He knows a lot about the French Revolution. I love those conversations. I love this one today. Dr. Drew Pinsky, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.